Good evening and welcome to Warrior TV. My name's Adam Deval, aka the Mental Health Warrior, and tonight we are going to be joined by Veronica and Aaron. And all I've got to say is I will see you in 30 seconds. Hello.
Hi.
Hey there.
We're live. Now, how are we?
What was that?
How are we?
Oh, we're good.
Good.
Is there a delay or something?
No, earlier there was like a little staticky, but it went away. I think we're good now.
Yeah, we're good now.
Yeah.
We're good? Brill.
Yeah, we're good.
Now, obviously, for everyone tuning in into the comments, we love you. Please tell me who you are and where you're tuning in from. Same with the on replay as well. Now, for you two, all I've got to say is welcome to Warrior TV for the very first time. I'm going to throw a quick fire questions at both of you. Now, I'm going to say, are you night owl or early birds?
I'd say more night timers for us.
Night owl for me, yeah.
Night owl? Yeah. Summer or winter?
Winter.
Okay. Does pineapple belong on pizzas?
No.
Does pineapple belong on pizza? Sometimes.
It's okay, but I prefer not.
I don't like it. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay. Christmas or Halloween?
Christmas.
Yeah. Okay. Pop or rock?
Rock.
Beautiful. I could tell with Veronica's look that she's a rock girl.
I was trying to make my hair higher, but it wouldn't go today.
We didn't have enough hairspray.
Oh, you weren't going to look like Avril Lavigne tonight. Not Avril Lavigne. Amy Winehouse.
We're not listening to much Amy Winehouse.
No. I don't like her music. For all the lovers. Right. I'm going to start with obviously I'm going to go ladies first because that's how much of a gentleman I am. So who is Veronica?
Who is Veronica?
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades type of person because I like different things. But Aaron and I together work on an emotional level with people, and we help to release emotions that have been there stuck for years, like events that happened when we were kids. We hold on to it and it affects us in our daily life. So we help to let go of all that stuff that's stuck within us. And on the side of that, I also do custom cakes. So I do these elaborate cakes. I can make a cake look like pretty much anything.
Wow. I bet that's why you fell in love with her, isn't it, Aaron? Because of her cooking.
I think it was part of it.
That was part of it. Oh, they're good.
Yeah, we'll get to how you two met a bit later on. So obviously, I just want to obviously we'll go on to you, Aaron. Who's Aaron?
Well, I was trained as a chiropractor. I spent many years in the health field, dealing with a lot of sports injuries. That's kind of where I started, where I wanted to work with, and then the way things work in our life, it took me down a different path where I started looking at more holistic health. I started studying nutrition, full by how everything affects our body. And that led me down to understanding how our thoughts, our emotions, the things we think about all the time, how that can also really affect our physical wellness. And in my practice, I spent a lot of my time dealing with the emotional aspect of things that people were coming in for, where they were coming for pains, diseases, and a lot of us because of the emotional stress that they were holding on to, things that were going on in their life. And so I spent I enjoyed doing that because I felt that was a big key in healing of people, along with nutrition and other things. And eventually we left doing the physical practice and started focusing more on, like you said, like the mental health stuff, and working more on the emotional level and helping people to really heal their life rather than just heal their body, because what's going on in their body usually became a manifestation of what was going on in their life. So I like going to core issues. And Veronica, is very intuitive. She didn't mention she's also an empath, can feel people's energy and emotions. So we combined our talents together and started doing our work with people. So when people work with us, they work with both of us at the same time, so we can look at it from different perspectives and see what might be the main cause of their challenges in their life.
Brilliant. And welcome Kerry Deval, live from just upstairs above me. Yeah, she's my wife, and she's asked a question, which obviously I was going to ask. What does mental health mean to you both?
Well, for me, mental health is really working on your mind, working how you think, how you feel, because what you think about, I would say most of the time, is what you manifest, and how you feel about it, like the emotions behind it, just amplifies it even more. So if, like, say you're working towards a business and you're trying to get that going, but then the emotion behind it is frustration, anger, and all these other things that are negative, you're putting negative energy into that. So it's really training the mind on how we think, how we feel, and learning to undo certain things that we've been grown up, that we've been taught as kids. Because a lot of times we pick up the way our parents thought, the way they behaved, and things like that. Also teachers, friends. So it's learning to work with the mind to help you live a better life, be more happy.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. How about you, Aaron?
I think we'll keep mine a little more simple. Is we look at the word mental health. Mental means the mind, and mind is a conglomeration of our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotional feelings and states. And so when I look at health, it's a really healthy mind, it's a healthy mindset. And what does that look like? And the mental part of it is being happy, is being full of joy, loving your thoughts, and really experiencing life with joy. And that's where we should all come from. That's our natural state of being when we come here. It's just throughout the years as we grow up with our society, influences, internet, all kinds of information that gets thrown at us, we develop these belief systems about ourselves, about the world around us. And eventually when we start to develop states of, when we're upset, when we're angry, when we're sad, that's the opposite of a well mental mindset. And so I think real mental health is learning how to be happy, and maintaining that happiness most of the time. If you find you're unhappy, that's a poor mental state.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I really do. Because I remember being on Zoom, and this was last year. I was on Zoom with an Australian for a good 2.5 hours. And he only asked me what question: what does mental health mean to you? And we was going through this for a good couple of hours. And he's like, no, that's what it is. But what is it to you? And it took me 2 hours to actually say, well, mental health is our mindset that controls the way we think, act, and behave. And that's what I think it is to me.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I mean. For it to take 2 hours for someone just to say that, who's gone through all the trauma and stuff like that, it's amazing. It really is. Yeah, I think I'm in my wife's bad books, because she just put, if I knew you had a couple on tonight, I'd be sat with you.
I was going to ask, is your wife going to be joining us?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to come and join us, Kerry? It's entirely up to you. There's space here. You can either go left or right. It's up to you. Right. Back to you, Veronica. I want to know a little bit about you growing up. Like, what type of person was you?
Growing up, I would say it was pretty challenging. At home, there was some physical abuse, verbal abuse from my father, with all of us, with my mom, my brother, my sisters. So we were afraid. We grew up in fear. And I would say even with school, because of that fear and, I had all this emotion. So when I went to school, I would say I got kind of bullied, teased type of things. So it was hard, and I didn't enjoy going to school because of that. And I was very shy, very quiet, and I would say that stopped me from doing some of the things that I probably would have, done, besides those circumstances. So I would say being in that energy kind of stops me from moving forward to do, things I would enjoy. And yeah, so I would say that it was pretty challenging growing up.
Absolutely. Well, if for me to look at you now, because obviously you've never met me in your life, I think you already have moved forward because you do podcasts, you're constantly being interviewed. So there you go.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of work, to overcome all that. So it's definitely paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, if you want to talk about it, that's fine. But do you know what triggered you to get bullied?
I would say because I was shy and quiet, and the kids probably wanted to, get some words out of me or have me say stuff, and they would just do things just to get a reaction from me.
Yeah.
And also the energy that I carried, because I was growing up in this fear environment, or maybe like not wanting to be seen. So then that energy within me is like attracting people to, hey, like, look at her and let's make fun of her. Let's get her to say something, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's the energy that we carry. I would say that that triggered that to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're proud for you for actually overcoming this.
Thank
Really
you.
are. Now, I want to move on to you, Aaron. What type of kid were you?
I'd say I was a pretty happy kid. I grew up in environments kind of, Veronica, we talked about this a lot, is like my upbringing was the opposite, where I had very loving parents, caring, very supportive of everything that I did. But I would say that even though I was more outgoing, I had a lot of friends, I could say that I would probably carry more low self-esteem when I was younger. How I thought about myself, and things that I maybe wanted to do, but I was too scared to do it, of what other people would think about me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't come to this realization till maybe probably like a few years ago, as we started really exploring, a lot of the behaviors and why I do the things that I do. And so, I can say there was really challenging times, from growing up. There's, things in relationships, there's things in school, things that happen. But for me, it was, I dealt more with the self-esteem issue. And I may not have showed that on the outside, but I felt it on the inside. And many people didn't know that. And so as I grew older and started working on the emotional states, I was that type of kid that, in person, who always bottled up my emotions. I never felt comfortable. Like, if I was sad, I didn't want to show it to people. If I felt like I wanted a tear, I would like pinch my skin or bite my lip, so that I wouldn't cry. And I carried everything in. So I carried in a lot of anger when I was a little bit older. And I realized it's because there was a lot of hurt, a lot of things going on inside, but I never expressed it. And this is things that we try to teach people now, is that we have to learn how to express our emotions, because eventually it's gonna, it's like a volcano. Eventually it's going to erupt, but it's going to erupt in different areas. It's going to interrupt in your health. It's going to erupt in your relationships. It's going to erupt in your business. So when I started to learn this, mid-20s, when I started to release stuff, it was like a big night and day for me. I felt so much better. But that was me as a kid, and growing up as an adolescent was, really never expressing, because I was taught that if you show your emotions, then that's a sign of weakness. That it's not good to show your emotions. It's not good for guys to cry. Even what would people think? Would I be made fun of if I did that? And so I think that I'm not the only one who's like that. A lot of people are taught this, that it's not okay to express. It's not good to show your emotions. Don't say anything. We hear don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. We get inundated with all this information. And then what do? We don't want to tell people how we feel or do anything. And that stops us from moving forward. And that was me. And then I learned how to get out of that.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I can definitely resonate with that. Because obviously with my upbringing, childhood trauma, would you actually think that 18th of March 2019 I attempted suicide?
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how recent it was, and that's what I keep
crazy.
getting. But this comes to my next question for you, Aaron. Obviously, with all the people keep saying, "Oh, man up, stop feeling sorry for yourself, but take it like a man." Besides all that, why do you think there's that much of a stigma around men's mental health?
It's conditioning.
Yeah.
It's social conditioning. It's been trickling down for generations, from your parents to your grandparents and before that. And what I'm starting to see now is that pattern of that generation is starting to make a shift. It's slowly happening because we see a lot of people talking about mental health now. It was something that no one really ever talked about. In fact, we were in the car the other day, and they had a 2-hour broadcast on the radio. And it was all about mental health, and a lot of celebrities have come on and say, this is time we're going to talk about this. So they dedicated 2 hours to talk about just about mental health, and people expressing like all the things that they go through, celebrities, all the depression that they go through, attempted suicide attempts. It's just interesting to see that more people are willing to talk about this now, because I believe that the more we talk about it, because we keep it to ourselves, we think like, oh gosh, I'm the only one that goes through this. Nobody else goes through it. What they're gonna think I'm weird or I'm dumb. But many people go through this, and I think if we all learn to express, we give people the unconscious permission to be able to express what they're feeling as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is the both of you, would you not think the reason people don't speak out is because of the fear of that diagnosis with that particular label? So whether it's PTSD, depression, anxiety.
I would say, I would think it's more they probably fear judgment of other people versus just the label. I would say it's more the judgment.
I agree.
Like, or they feel like they're alone, like they have no one to talk to. Because when I was growing up and I went through my dark phase, I would say I have 2 sisters and a brother, but I felt like I couldn't talk to them, and I couldn't express what I was feeling on the inside. And I would say the emotional pain is a lot stronger than any physical pain, and it's hard to deal with, especially if you're not taught how to work with your emotions, how to express, and you're being taught the opposite of like, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Then it's like, what do I do with this? And I think it's important for kids, even adults nowadays, to learn and teach their kids how to deal with emotions, and that it's okay to talk about it and to express.
I definitely sympathize with you both, because obviously when we were growing up, I didn't even know mental health actually existed. But now my son is constantly going to school and he says, mental health this, mental health that. He keeps throwing that around. I'm like, I'm so bloody proud of you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that's what it is, because he's hearing it from home. But we're getting school saying, can you try and keep it out of school? I'm like, no. It needs to be taught about.
Why?
Exactly. And this is what we've done. Because I think that part of the stigma is involved with the education, because they're teaching kids that that mental health should not be spoken about. But what I did is I found a little bit of a loophole. Fair enough, the school curriculum can't be changed, but the national curriculum can. And obviously, we withdrew them from a particular subject, obviously for personal reasons. But they were like, right, okay, now you've withdrawn from that. What do you want it replaced by? Because we need to fill it. I said, mental health, do that. So now they're learning about it.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we see that in curriculums here too in the States. Is our daughter's homeschool, and she's taking health science right now. A lot of it is also dealing with mental health and how do you deal with depression. And that we never got that kind of education when I was at school.
No.
But because it's becoming a real thing. You mentioned that it didn't exist before. Well, I feel that it did exist. They just didn't have a name for it. Because there's always been depression. There's always been sadness and anger, and a lot of people just unhappy with their lives, but no one really ever dealt with it. I think, you talk about almost a century ago, what did they do? If you were upset, they put you in an asylum or gave you something to not feel so good. Let's numb your pain. Let's not focus on what's actually causing the pain. Let's just block it and try to get you to not feel it. And I think that's another thing that's been a challenge is with the mental health issues, depression, anxiety, is if we're not dealing with the core issue, and that's what I dealt with in practice, if you don't deal with the core issue, you're just treating a symptom. And that just going to create another symptom, another symptom. If you're not treating closely, it stops you from feeling. The body wants to express and release this energy, and that's what it is. It's energy. Then it's going to ball up into somewhere else and create, and we don't know the other symptoms that are based off of that. And so I think now it's great that people are talking about it, because I found that when working with our clients is when you get them to identify what's really causing their emotional state and you get them to release that, and you get people breaking down. It's like, hey, this is what's really causing your issue. Okay, you say it might be this event, but it's really, what does that event mean to you? Why does that bother you? Mm-hmm. It makes me sad because it makes me feel alone, right? I don't feel like I'm being listened to. And once people really come to the real issue, what's going on, it's like you unlock it with a key and everything just comes out. And I've seen people like in severe pain, releasing the emotion, and their pain goes away almost immediately because they finally let what they were holding on to out. I've dealt with this personally. And when I bottle up, it manifested into my physical body. When I let it out, everything goes away.
I agree. See, I remember growing up where obviously my daily routine was get beaten up at home by my siblings, and my mother just stood there and watched, which is another sign of abuse, which I found that out, and then go to school, get the same treatment. So that was my same routine from the age of 3 up until I was adult.
Wow.
And now, obviously, I kept that to myself for 21 years.
Yeah, that's rough, especially, to hold on to that for so long. It's like, it's too long. It's you shouldn't have to go through all that.
No.
My question for you, Adam, is when you finally started to talk about and release that, what was different about you? What changed?
Well, when it got too much, I just said to my partner, I'm going out. That's all I said. I'm just going out. And I need to go for a walk. But really, what I was actually going to do was go and commit suicide. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think about my partner. I didn't think about my kids. I didn't think about nothing. The only thing I thought about was just death. And the first person I spoke to was a police officer. And obviously, they did nothing. They just referred me to the mental health team, which did nothing. So then I thought, right, they're useless. I can't deal with that. So I went to go and attempt it. But something triggered, which I still don't know today, where I ended up ringing an ambulance, and they took me up to the hospital because all these voices were going through my head saying, oh, you won't be missed. Just go and do it. Jump. And I was about to, but obviously I was pulled back by an ambulance, by a paramedic, and they took me up, spoke to me where I was practically on suicide watch because I had these 2 security guards watching me, even though I had a seatbelt wrapped around my neck on the way up. So obviously they kept pulling it off. Then I had a charger wire wrapped around my neck because I just wanted to get it over with. And they threatened to practically cut the wire. And yeah, so I ended up walking home because they discharged me because apparently I wasn't unstable enough, which I thought, I tried committing suicide here and I'm not unstable enough. So it just goes sure. But walking home, that I felt better once I got back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we've lately, like we've heard so many stories of people actually committing suicide, and it's sad to know that, and to because it's almost like you look at like, well, why did that happen, and it's like, did they feel like they were alone, like they couldn't talk to someone? And I would say for the most part, it probably does feel that way, like you're just alone and no one can comprehend what you're going through.
Yeah, but we're here and we're ending this stigma. So, I want to go on to how you two met.
Well, it was 2012,
Okay.
and I was just getting out of working. I was in a wellness hospital down in Rosarito, Mexico. We're about maybe 15 minutes from the border here in California, and I really wanted to start a practice here in San Diego. And while I was working down there, I met a gentleman that was really into the healing area and used a lot of microcurrent healing devices. And so I learned to train with him. We became friends. I met him and his wife and his family, and they wanted me to kind of be a part of their team in the area that I wanted to practice here in San Diego. And so when I wanted to start my own practice and left, I started there. And it just so happens that his wife knew Veronica because they were pregnant at the same time. This was years before we met. And interesting that they had the same birthday too, but they were friends. And I was going to be the treating chiropractor, and then Veronica was doing Reiki at the time. And I'll let you finish.
I was also a technician using the microcurrent devices. So we were going to be sharing the same office. And so our mutual friend, she introduced us because we were going to be sharing the office. And that's pretty much how we met. And there was probably a couple times before that in which we were supposed to meet, but it just didn't happen. It was like, it wasn't the right timing.
Okay.
And we're just colleagues at first, but after we get to know each other after a while, then we started hitting off. And that was almost 10 years ago, in this coming April in 2022. And we've been married now for 3 years.
Wow.
So we've been together almost 10 and married 3.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. So, who said love you first then?
I think it was Veronica.
I think so.
Think so?
I think it was.
Oh, you're not sure, are you?
Yeah. I believe it was Veronica.
Yeah.
And I said it right after she did, so it wasn't a pause.
I wish I could say the same about me and my wife. She's tuning in as well, so yeah, it's all right.
Who said it first with you guys?
It was actually me that said it, and all she says was, right, okay. I'm like, right, okay. Yeah. Well, it's all right. We're married now, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
No, we got married on 9th of June this year.
Oh, this year. Oh, congratulations.
You guys still newlyweds. Okay,
Wow.
Congrats.
No wonder I'm losing my hair already. I'm on 30. But anyway. So yeah, what does the future hold for like you two? Like, are you going to like renew your vows in like when you get to 10 years or what?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
10 years. Well, our goal is we just.
I was thinking 5, but 10's okay.
We could do it at any time, right?
Aaron looked like that was breaking news then to him.
One thing you'll find out, Veronica and I, we are very non-traditional. So we believe in doing things that way we want to do them. We don't have to get stuck in the stigma and tradition of this is how things have to be. We're kind of like disruptors in that area. And so even for our wedding, we kept it very simple and very small. It was just our parents and us. We wanted to focus on our ceremony and just the energy of that moment, rather than trying to focus on like the big party and bringing all these people. And
I agree.
We were on a budget at the time too, so that was a big part of it. But we did it the way we wanted it to do it, without worrying about what other people are gonna we're going to think, because it was our wedding and that's how we wanted to do it. And so when we decide to do things, it's like, what do we want to do? And I think that's one of the teachings we help people with. And it's something that helped us big time is whatever you want to do in your life, whether it's in your career, your relationship, it's like, what do you want? What do you want to do? Because again, we talk about growing up, I was the type of person that I was always cared about what people thought. And so I made a lot of my decisions of what I wanted to do based on, I wonder what other people would think about this. How would they be excited for me to do this? Like my parents. And I realized, wow, I made a lot of my decisions based off of that. But when I said, what do I really want to do? Well, I want to do this. And I started to feel more alive. And we talk about mental health. I find that there's a lot of people that are not doing the things they really want to do in their life, and they're feeling suppressed. They're not working in the career that they really want to work in. Maybe they're not in a relationship that they want to be in, or they're in a relationship they're unhappy with, and they're really not finding what's right for them. And when we start to do what we truly want, what our spirit wants for us to do and grow, that's how we start to really experience our own happiness. Because when we're not doing what we know we should be doing, we're suppressing our spirit. And that's, I think, what creates a lot of challenges for people.
Absolutely. And no, Kerry, I'm not going to be asking that question, because you just asked who made the first move at the start of your relationship. I wasn't going to ask that.
So are you asking us?
That one, I believe, was me.
Well, she did say earlier in the chat that she's not going to join us. She wants to do it another time, like a couples chat, maybe.
She doesn't want to be in the hot seat. I get it.
I think she does. I think she loves the camera. I really do. But I want to talk about what's been going on for the last almost 2 years with this pandemic. Now, obviously, not to trigger anyone, but I know we've all got our views on COVID and stuff like that. Some people believe it, some people don't, but who knows? But so out of respect, I want to know, how have you two coped? So why I'm saying that, because me and my partner's been together on and off for nearly 13 years. And in the last 2 years, we actually got to know each other more than what we actually should. Are you two the same?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In the past 2 years?
Most of our relationship.
Yeah, most of our, because I would say we're pretty open and we talk about everything pretty much. And it's like there's not really anything to hide. Why hide anything? So it's like we're like an open book. And if we're going through something, if he's going through something, I could feel it. And I know when he's experiencing something, and I'll just tell him, let me know when you're ready to talk about it. Because sometimes in the moment, he needs his space to think. And when he's ready, then we just talk and we work through it.
Yeah. And also being in this field, we work on each other constantly for years. Like you said, for both of us to be here speaking with you, and that's a big change for Veronica. We worked a lot on that, and even myself working on all these things and speaking and telling our story. To be able to say it without the emotion coming out, because we've released so much emotion that we carried on to for years, and we're still finding stuff. Personal growth and development is not just a 3-month or 90-day thing that you do. It's until you transition and move on to the next part of your life. But for us, is we found what really strengthened our relationship was being open and talking about these things. This is what I'm feeling, because in a relationship, what will happen is, we each have our own experiences growing up, and we find that there are certain experiences that really left a negative, I want to say negative, but an imprint on us, good or bad. And so when there's something that might be, bring up a lot of anger or sadness in us, it's a trigger. And somebody may say something, and you may be upset with that person. But why? Because maybe something that they did, maybe their mannerism, it triggered something from a past experience that your brain said, you know what? I don't like this. It's making me feel uneasy. And they may not even know that they're actually triggering you in a way. They could be doing their own thing. So I found that it wasn't anything wrong with me. It wasn't anything wrong with Veronica. It's like, oh, wow, we're bringing up, I'm triggering something in her from her past. She's triggering something in me from my past. And what that does is when all that starts to come up to the surface, we now look at it as, wow, this is a blessing because this is something we've never looked at before. That's time to heal. What am I not looking at? What am I unwilling to pay attention to? And when we start to feel that, is I realize, wow, if I'm upset with her or something else, or she's upset with me or something else, it's not because of what we did. It's like, it's bringing up old memories and old things that are coming up and we realize, wow, it wasn't her, it wasn't me. It's the representation of this that's creating the trigger. And you find this a lot in couples and why they have a hard time communicating, because if there's a lot of argument, the traditional conditioning is somebody's got to win that argument.
I agree.
And it becomes a battle. And like who can talk better, who can put the other person down. And it becomes, when the conversation ends, it's like when somebody surrenders and gives up. But then what does that do later on? And it's like you create these little scars in your relationship, little nicks. And eventually what happens, 10 years down the line, someone realizes, wow, our relationship is ending. Why? But what starts from the beginning, like there's little things. And as you work on things, you realize that it strengthens your relationships. And we work with people so much on this area.
Because if you put all those things on the back burner and you don't talk about it, it's going to pile up and build up. And then after a while, they might just say one little thing and it's like it blows up out of proportion. So it's, well, I didn't even really say anything and they blew up on me. And that's how things like that happen, because they don't work through all the other stuff that was there before. They just stuff it, or they just put it aside.
Yeah, I agree. And I won't just think it's relationships between the husband and wife, or husband and husband, wife and wife. It really doesn't matter. It's between the parents and the kids as well, that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's all relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships at work. And it's just realizing most people, we found, don't pay really much attention to how they feel. Because when the emotions come up, it's automatic. You go into emotional state. When you're in a highly emotional state, the whole conscious reasoning mind that really tries to figure things out, okay, what's going on here, it analyzes, that goes out the door. And then people react emotionally. And when they say things, oh, I wasn't really thinking when I did that, because that's how the emotional brain works. And people react. They say things that they probably never really meant to say, and they hurt people. And they apologize, or something happens afterwards. But that's how people need to learn to pay attention to how they feel, because how you're feeling is a guidance system. It's there for a reason. It's there to tell you something's off. You're not doing something you're meant to be doing, or you're off track in this area of your life. Something says, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be saying these things, because it's there to guide you. And so when we talk about mental health, I mentioned this earlier, is when we learn to be happy, and what creates more happiness for us.
Exactly.
And that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Is we learn that we don't get as upset. We don't get as sad anymore, especially if we release all of that stuff. And it's hard to find that. And once you've healed and cleared that area.
I totally agree. Communication is key for all. It really is. And I can openly admit that me and my partner, we never communicated at the start. We didn't. And obviously, I admit a part of it, I'm at fault. Because I chose, when my son was first born, I was a crap dad. But obviously, that was the past. I'm now moved on from that. And the kids won't leave me alone now. They won't. But that's how it is. But when you was talking about like triggers and all that, it just made me think about what happened on Friday, because my son, he's 9 years old, and he's been diagnosed with autism and ADHD.
Okay.
And he was triggered by his teacher, where to the point where one of those park benches, because we all know how heavy they are, he actually tipped it. He lifted it and tipped it on his arm. And yeah, that's how triggered he was. But it just goes to show, when you're triggered, sometimes you can go two ways. You can either recover from that, or you can escalate it and turn to violence. But it's like I'm always questioning when he does turn to violence. Right, okay, you've done it. Now, what have you achieved from doing that? And he went, nothing. Well, there you go then. Because violence achieves nothing but cowardness.
But also, you got to think about too. Is we talk about conditioning and habits. Is when the emotions come up, is where you're going to default to whatever you know what to do.
Yeah.
So most people, when they, I'll take kids as example. When they see someone who gets angry, they see, while they're watching TV, their parents or anything, like, what does that person do? Maybe they shout, they scream, they punch a wall or harm another person, whatever that is. And so that's conditioning, and they're learning that. So when I get angry, what do I do with this? Oh, that's what I do. So what we have to learn to do is teach ourselves, but also the young generation, is how to properly manage and give them, here's a strategy for you to do when you feel angry or when you feel sad. Do this, and something that's more constructive. And when that emotion comes up again, they're going to go to their default. I may breathe. I may take a walk. I may try to, write down what I'm grateful for. But if their base conditioning is, I lift up a chair, or, I destroy something, that's what's going to happen. Because if you're trying to learn this now, rationally, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do all these different techniques to calm this emotion down. But when the emotion gets there, if you haven't practiced that enough, you're going to go back to default. And so it has to be repeated over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, we know what you know now, but have any of you two seen Red, and what did you do at first to what you're doing now?
Like get really angry? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because that's the saying here in the UK is you see red.
Interesting to see red. What do you do when you see red?
It's interesting for me. I used to just stay quiet, but then I don't know. I've been into a few fights when I was younger in school, and it was like I didn't have enough anger to go and fight, so I would have to make myself angry, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does, yeah.
So I would have to like think about like what am I gonna do and how am I gonna do it and stuff like that. So, but I would say if I did get angry, I would probably stuff it most of the time.
What about you, Aaron?
I'm the same way. I'm not a person that lashes out. I tend to, I'll go quiet, because I've learned I remember when I was younger, when I got really angry once when I was probably like 17 or 18. And I remember like the feeling of it didn't feel really good. And mainly, why do people get angry? A lot of times it's because in some way, shape, or form, they were hurt deep down inside. Anger is just like it's like on the surface level, but if you go beneath the anger, there's some form of way we were hurt, and somehow maybe somebody said something that was very hurtful, so we lash out with anger, because anger is it's a stimulating emotion. So for me, I bottled it in. I remember I told myself, like, I never want to like feel or do get like this ever again. And so I always bottled it in. If I was upset with somebody, I'd just go quiet. I wouldn't say anything. If something came up, maybe like a rude gesture or a comment or something like that, but nothing really severe. But I always go quiet. But what that does is it like destroys you all on the inside. That's what I learned, trying to bottle that all up, because when you got all the anger, it creates toxins in your body.
It does.
And that toxicity, it sits in your liver. Anger sits in the liver in the body. That's what it relates to. And there's so much that it can create physically. And that's what my go-to was. And that's still a strategy when I get there, but now it's different because I learned to analyze what's going on. But that's how I was. And if you look at two ends of the spectrum, there's lashing out and being very violent with anger, and there's being bottling up and not saying anything. I think they're both extremes. And you have to find a happy middle to find a way to express that, but not harm or hurt anybody or yourself. And also, when bottling up still damages yourself. So you have to find a way to express that.
Absolutely. Okay, someone's loved. Yeah, so I see you two doing a lot of self-care as well. So how critical is self-care to those that can be triggered?
It's very important to do, to do your own work, your personal growth development, because it's going to make you feel so much better, because now you're learning how to deal with emotions and maybe situations that you've never knew how to deal with before. So it just brings so much peace, inner peace, and more happiness, because when you're holding on to so much stuff, it's like it's just sitting there, and you might not be thinking about it in the moment, but it's still there. And it gets triggered, and then it starts to eat away at you. But when you know how to express and deal with situations and emotions and people, you're just more happy. And I would say it's very important to work on that, or learn how to.
Yeah, totally. So I'm going to start with you, Aaron. What self-care technique do you do?
We do a lot of things. One of the biggest things that I'm now working towards making sure that I do every day is meditate. I think meditation has been, for me, a big blessing in my life. And we learn our own different techniques, and there's so many forms of meditation, but the way we meditate has definitely been very helpful. I also study, just reading about self-health care. If you want to understand how do I do things, how do I work on my anger, how do I work through these emotions, you have to study, you have to learn, and you have to educate yourself. And that's, I think, the first part is understand different techniques that you can use. So I read a lot of things. I do a lot of more spiritual work now in my life than I never did before. That part of my life was kind of like a little taboo. It wasn't really, I never really went down that route. Veronica helped to bring that part out of me, and really connecting with my soul, my spirit, and understanding that there's something greater than me, and learning how to even tap into that. That was the biggest self-care that I can do, on top of a lot of the emotional work and clearing that Veronica and I do with our clients, we do on ourselves.
Yeah. And you, Veronica, obviously I see you, and this is just me opinionated, I think you do aromatherapy.
Aromatherapy. I like my essential oils as well.
Yes, I thought so.
Yeah, I like that. But I do meditate, and we work on the emotions with the techniques that we use together. But as far as like getting triggered and angry, I don't get angry that much. It's like stuff that bothers Aaron doesn't really bother me, and it's like, whatever. So it's I don't know if it's just when I see things a little differently, and but I would say it's still important to still study, and we do a lot of reading, and I like to listen to podcasts and different things like that, where I'm getting knowledge from other people. So I like to study.
And I think the other thing we come to realize too is, when we help others in some way, that I think at a deeper level for anybody, when you're feeling not in a great state, and you're, kind of self-loathing, and maybe there's thoughts in your head that say like, I'm not good enough, or I'm worthless, or something like that, is, they realize there's other people that are out there. We have a different perspective. We get into this world like it's only about me. And we have to expand and broaden our vision that, hey, there's millions and trillions of people in this world that, that are also going through similar experiences. And when we learn to help people in any way, and whatever that is for you, it's like whatever you enjoy doing that provides a service for other people, that helps to, enliven you up. When we work with people and help people to heal, that gives us life. We have been doing our own live streams and shows for going on 4 years now. We took a break for this last probably few months, and And we realized we want to get back into this again.
Yeah.
So we're going to start that very shortly in the next couple of weeks, because I realized like how much we enjoyed doing that and what it felt like to not do it.
And we've had people reach out and say, hey, when are you coming back? We miss you. And so it's like they, we're helping them as well by doing the show. So, and just like you doing your show, and you're helping other people, and whether you know it or not, like you could be one person that you help, and that it doesn't. That's great.
Yeah. We've obviously brought someone in. She's called Tessa. She's from Australia as well, and obviously she specializes in promoting good resilience. And she was messaging me yesterday saying, "What do I do? What do I say?" Proper anxious, and like, and she's like, "Oh, what if we don't get anyone tuning in?" I'm like, right, this is how it is. It doesn't matter if one person's tuned in, 10,000, 100,000, or even 1,000,000 people tuning in. If you can help that one person, you should be proud of that.
Yeah.
Because it's not about how many people tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting the message out there, because that's far more important.
Exactly. That should be more of the focus, is just getting the message out versus who's watching or how many views do we have. Like that's not what matters. What matters is you getting your message across and helping people in that way.
That's what kept us going.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, there was times I did get caught up in views at certain points. So, like they were really good, then they went down. And you can, if you're doing lives like this or podcasting, and you get caught up in that, but then you have to realize, wow, when that one person tells you that one episode that you did really made a big difference in my life. And we've had those conversations with people.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, because you never know who's listening, especially on lives. There's people that might be listening in the background. Maybe they don't feel comfortable sharing or commenting here in the feed, but they're still watching. And one little tip that you give can make a huge difference in their world.
Yeah, there has been times where obviously I'm just scrolling through Facebook and I come across a live, but instead of actually clicking on it, which will show that I'm tuned in, I've got my volume up and I'm listening from the background. So either way, I'm still there, but obviously I can't comment, but I'm still listening.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you mentioned, they don't have to be necessarily watching it live. You might have one person watching live, but then once it ends, you get the replay, and you can have all kinds of people watching, and you don't even know who's watching.
We're getting comments right now from videos we did over a year ago.
Yeah.
That somebody finally just found it, because newer people are going to get exposed to your program, and they're going to want to go back. What else do they have? And they're going to go back and see this. This interview, this episode that we're doing here with you, maybe a year down the line, somebody's going to come across this video and say, wow, that was a really good episode. And one little tip that Adam or Aaron or Veronica said really helped. And then because they weren't maybe a part of this community at this time that we're doing this live.
Yeah.
So you never know who's watching or listening.
Exactly. And that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how we roll. Right. And obviously, one piece of advice, what would you... I'll remove myself from the studio, so you've got the platform. Give anyone a piece of advice what to do and where they can find you.
Piece of advice. I would say, I mentioned this earlier, and this is only from my own experience, and I'm always looking how can I be better? How can I... And I think a lot of that is maybe there's something in your mind, a goal that you have. Maybe you feel like if you're in an unhappy place right now, and you think, well, the reason why I'm unhappy is because I'm not in the career that I love doing, or I'm not earning as much money as I thought I would, or I'm not in the right relationship, or I'm in a horrible relationship, or my health isn't great right now. Those are the things we look at as, I'll be happy once these areas are better in my life. And I've learned from my own personal experience that takes a very long time. And so the key concept is, how could you learn to be happy now, regardless of whatever's going on in your life around you, whatever's going on in the economy, whatever's going on in the world, even with COVID going on right now, it's like, there's a lot of people that are really upset with everything that's going on around the world. Like, how could you be happy regardless of what's going on? because that helps you to keep your mental peace. And a lot of that comes down to is learning who you truly are, and that you are a creator. You're a spiritual being living in a human experience. And when you can learn to quiet your thoughts and really learn to, what is it that I really want to do? What am I here to do? And you listen to that voice that's within you, and you learn to let go of things you've been holding on to, all this resistance that you carry, you'll find that you start to have more peace. And if you don't know what that is yet, and you're unsure of how to do that, the first thing I can learn that. If I'm not happy right now, I would love to be happy. How can I learn to be happy? And this is what we want to teach people how to do, is we want to teach you how to be happy wherever you are. And we have our experiences, our techniques to do that. Anything you want to add to that?
I'm not sure if you already mentioned it. I know you did earlier, but if you're going through, a state where you're feeling down and depressed, go and do something for someone else. Go help someone else. Maybe it's a homeless person, buy them lunch or bring them something. Because that would really help you and lift your spirits. And also do what you love, because a lot of people are settling for, maybe a job they don't enjoy. Do what you truly love. And if you can't just quit your job and do something else, maybe keep that job temporarily, but be excited for what you're going to do next, and pay attention to your thoughts and emotions, because that's going to dictate what you manifest in your life. And if you're paying attention and you're like, wow, like a lot of my thoughts are negative, now it's time to change those thoughts into more positive. Listen to things that are more uplifting, that'll bring you more joy, more happiness, that'll make you smile, because that's going to raise your vibration. The moment you start thinking negative, or even paying attention to how you feel, and if you're not feeling good, that means your thoughts are probably not good. So it's do something that's going to help to lift your spirits.
And the other piece of advice that we tend to give people, because we can give you a lot of strategies, tips, and tools, but one of the biggest things we find that people really get challenged, especially if this is still new for you right now, is being okay and learning to ask for help. Yeah. It's a challenge for a lot of people. You think it might be easy to just ask for help. Someone, you're stuck with something and you don't know how to get out of it, and somebody may have the experience or the knowledge of how to do that, and being okay going and asking somebody, hey, I'm going through a really hard time, could you help me? And it could be a very vulnerable spot for you. I was there. I know Veronica was there. We work with a lot of people. And I remember there was a time in my life when I was going through some challenges, and it took a lot of a lot of energy just to call somebody or email somebody to say, hey, I'm going through this, because I had to get rid of all those thoughts. My mind was starting to think like, oh my gosh, they're not gonna have time for me. They're gonna think weird about me or say things or whatever that might be. Here's what I found. When I wrote that email and reached out, I found that people are more willing to help than you think, because people are there and they want to help. That's part of our nature, is to go help somebody else. Somebody's gone through experience and you're going through some challenges. Somebody who knows how to get through that, they are willing to help you. You just have to reach out and ask them. If you're struggling with your finances, you're struggling in your business, you're struggling in relationships, somebody knows how to help you in that area, but you have to be able to reach out and say, hey, can you help me?
Can you help me? Or do you know anyone who can help me in this area?
Yeah. And when you can start to feel okay and break through that concept of asking for help, a lot of things will change, because you'll find the resources that you need.
And where can people find us?
Oh, you can find us in a couple different areas. So one is you can find us on Facebook. Just type in Aaron and Veronica on Facebook, and you'll find our page there if you want to reach out to us on Facebook. Our company is called the Manifestation Mindset Institute. And this is the things that we teach, the things that we share with you. And so if you want to know more about our programs, our coaching, the healing things that we do, you can go to manifestationmindsetinstitute.com to learn more there. We have programs that are coming out right now for you guys, because it's time for us to really grow and time to help, put our work out there for you. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you.
Yeah. So we have a lot of new upcoming stuff. So stay tuned.
Brilliant, brilliant. And all I've got to say is to the viewers, well, Aaron and Veronica's got it behind them. Just say relax. Well, that's what you do. Because obviously what this pandemic has taught me is, fair enough, the first 2 weeks, I struggled thinking, what the hell's going on here? What do we do now? But I seen an opportunity, and that same opportunity has stuck with me since. And that is this. Because I actually went from doing once a week Facebook Lives, which I was achieving nothing, to now I'm doing this. Warrior TV's live 5, sometimes even 6 days a week now.
That's great.
So,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And all I've got to say is thank you two, for coming on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You're most welcome. I hope you don't become a guest. Don't become a guest. I hope you do become a guest someday. I hope you don't become a stranger. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Be mindful with your words.
I know. Sorry. Right. And all I've got to say is please tune in tomorrow, where there's 2 podcasts going on. At 11 a.m. UK time, we've got our Mindset Warriors, Steve Knapp. He's going to be interviewing Jane Bryce. And then before I actually introduce my guest tomorrow, have you two ever seen The X Factor?
I think I have. I know of it, but I don't know if I've watched a whole lot of it.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, tomorrow night, same time, 8 p.m. UK time, I'll be interviewing the sensational singer Melanie Masson. So yes, please all tune in for that. Yes, I found her on Twitter. She requested me, so happy days. So there you go. I will catch you all later. Please share this in awareness, and please all subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook as the Mental Health Warriors, which is right above us. It's actually that way. I know StreamYard's opposite. YouTube, please follow us, and Twitter, the Warriors of M1. Please follow us, and if you want to support what we do, please contribute by making a donation, because we're here on a mission to stopping the stigma. And all I've got to say is thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.